shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle Casey found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game.
Breaking news out of the WNBA tonight. Ratings are collapsing at a speed that has left both league executives and fans stunned. And at the center of this shocking downturn, none other than Caitlin Clark. The rookie sensation, sidelined with a painful groin injury, has unintentionally exposed just how dependent the league has become on her presence. Without Clark, primetime matchups are bleeding viewers, advertisers are alarmed, and network executives are questioning future commitments. Tonight, we dig into the numbers, the fallout, and what this means for the league's survival. Is the WNBA truly growing, or is it riding on the fragile shoulders of one player? Stay tuned as we uncover the truth behind the ratings crash.
And that problem is Caitlin Clark not playing in WNBA games. Now, what all does this affect? The ratings are plummeting. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-poppingly bad. We're talking about down in unrivaled territory.
Imagine this. One player misses a few weeks, and the league's so-called historic growth collapses overnight. That's exactly what has happened since Caitlin Clark's groin injury sidelined her. Just months ago, the WNBA was boasting record-breaking viewership. Now, ratings for key matchups are down over 1 million viewers compared to early season peaks. The league's magic formula was simple: Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. That rivalry was the ticket to headlines, sponsorships, and sold-out arenas. But when neither of those stars step on the court, the product struggles to draw even half the audience. Fans aren't tuning in for Kelsey Mitchell isolation plays or Lexie Hull's defense. They were tuning in for Clark. Without her, the foundation looks dangerously fragile.
Struggling to maintain interest. Now, in fairness to the dump, the ratings I'm about to share with you guys, they're not bad. Matter of fact, some of them are actually good, at least when compared to what this dump used to draw, which was nothing. But the reason I think the WNBA is in trouble has less to do with these ratings and more to do with what I think is coming.
Let's break down the numbers. In May, Fever vs. Sky on ABC pulled 2.7 million viewers, peaking at 3.1 million, a 20-year high. By their second meeting, numbers dipped to 1.9 million, still strong but down significantly. The third matchup, 1.5 million viewers, the lowest Clark-Reese duel yet. But last week, disaster struck. The same primetime slot without Clark drew just 1.3 million viewers. That's a catastrophic loss of 1.4 million in less than 3 months. Networks call this a death spiral, a trend that frightens advertisers. Fans simply tuned out once Clark wasn't in uniform. This isn't a normal dip. It's a collapse, and it's raising urgent questions about the WNBA's future business model.
Regular season. And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
Part of the chaos lies in how Clark's injury has been reported. At first, she was listed day-to-day, then out indefinitely. Then, ESPN circled August 12th as a potential return date. Yet, just days ago, Fever coach Stephanie White admitted Clark hadn't even been practicing. That revelation turned a supposed game time decision into yet another no-show. Fans feel misled. Was this a medical miscommunication, or was the league deliberately dangling false hope to keep viewers watching? Sports leagues often use game time decision labels as PR tactics, teasing the possibility of a return without intending to deliver. But when fans catch on, trust evaporates. And in television, Nothing kills ratings faster than an audience that feels conned.
And I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it. To put her as a game time decision for today's game, and then Coach Stephanie White basically coming out and saying she has done no practicing with the team, that's crazy. And I brought it up in my video yesterday.
The WNBA's desperation is becoming clear. Reports suggest league officials quietly pressured the Fever to tease Clark's return, even though her injury still needs weeks of recovery. Why? To artificially boost ratings. But this gamble risks backfiring badly. Stringing fans along might work once, maybe twice. After that, people stop believing. Clark's injury isn't a minor bruise. It's a soft tissue groin strain that requires real healing. Rush her back, and you risk chronic damage. Yet instead of protecting their most valuable asset, the league appears to be prioritizing short-term TV numbers over long-term sustainability. It's a dangerous path, and one that could permanently damage both Clark's career and the league's credibility.
Back in the mix when all of these teams are at peak condition, and we already know what happens when Caitlin Clark gets back out on the court. Teams play defense on her differently. They play extra physical with her. There's all of these different factors that come into play. That's why I'm sort of leaning to the point of maybe Caitlin should be out for the rest of the season. Maybe this season is just done for her. Maybe it doesn't make sense for her to come back into the mix if the Fever aren't contenders. Are the Fever contenders at this point? I'm just not so sure. Do you risk another injury that can again compound and turn into something else down the line?
It's not just Fever games. The ripple effect is everywhere. Recent matchups like Sun vs. Liberty or Dream vs. Mercury are struggling to draw even 200,000 viewers on NBA TV. For a league claiming massive growth, those numbers are alarming. If Caitlin Clark were on the floor, ratings would easily double. But without her, even casual fans admit they'd rather watch something else. The harsh reality? Clark isn't just the star of the Indiana Fever. She's the WNBA's entire stimulus package. When she plays, the league thrives. When she doesn't, it collapses. That's not growth, that's dependency. And any business dependent on one asset is always one injury away from disaster.
Not be thrown back into any mix if she doesn't have significant practices under her belt before she goes into game speed. You can try to simulate game speed as much as you want in practice. You will never be able to. Game speed is game speed. There's also a lot more adrenaline, all of these different things pumping when you're playing in front of a sold out crowd that the Indiana Fever do every single night. If I'm their coach, she needs to practice for at minimum a week. At the minimum, she needs to be doing everything in practice for at least a week before you throw her back in the mix. Now you're going to throw her back in the mix when all of these teams are at peak condition.
Let's address the elephant in the room, officiating. From her debut, Clark has faced excessive physical targeting. Defenders grab her arms, push her on drives, and rough her up with little whistle protection. Many analysts argue that if Clark had received the same respect as Paige Buchers or Breanna Stewart, she wouldn't be sidelined today. This injury didn't happen in isolation. It's the result of cumulative hits ignored by referees. If the WNBA can't protect its biggest star, what message does that send? Players are emboldened to target her harder, knowing calls won't come. And in the process, the league risks destroying the very player it depends on to stay relevant. Television networks don't have patience for wait until our star is healthy. ESPN, CBS, and ABC pay for consistency, not dependency. Right now, the WNBA's business model is exposed. Viewership collapses whenever Clark doesn't play. That's not sustainable. Advertisers don't want unpredictable numbers. Networks don't want volatile contracts. And owners certainly don't want to negotiate future TV deals from a position of weakness. The reality? The league built its marketing, promos, and highlights around one player. Without her, there's no backup plan. No second wave of stars has been promoted to keep audiences engaged. That's a dangerous gamble for a league still fighting for long-term stability. Every week Clark sits. Casual fans drift away. Habits break. They find other sports, other shows, other entertainment. And once a viewing habit breaks, it's extremely hard to rebuild. That's the real danger here. Even if Clark returns for the playoffs, there's no guarantee fans will automatically tune back in. Some are gone for good. The playoffs are supposed to be the league's showcase, but if Clark's return doesn't spark ratings back to early season highs, the historic growth narrative collapses. What will the WNBA say then? The truth will be unavoidable. Without Caitlin Clark, the so-called growth was never league-wide. It was Clark-driven from the start. Let's not forget, Angel Reese is sidelined too. The league struck gold when Clark versus Reese turned into the season's defining rivalry. It had all the drama, controversy, and hype networks dream of. But now, with both stars injured, the magic is gone. What was once a marquee matchup is now just two average teams battling without their headliners. Viewership reflects that reality. Numbers are plummeting. Without the star power, fans aren't invested. Rivalries fuel sports, and the WNBA had one of the best in years. But poor officiating and relentless physical play robbed fans of seeing it unfold. That's not just bad luck, that's negligence at the highest level. Without Clark, Indiana's offense has fallen apart. Spacing is worse, turnovers pile up, and defenses no longer respect the perimeter. Fans aren't tuning in to watch clunky half-court sets die in the corner. They wanted Clark's deep threes, her flashy passes, her leadership. Without that, the product looks dull to the casual audience. And when basketball looks boring, ratings nosedive. It's not just about star power, it's about quality. Clark elevated her team's style of play. Now, without her, the Fever look ordinary. And ordinary doesn't sell on primetime TV. Networks know this, advertisers know this, and unfortunately, the numbers prove it beyond any doubt. So what's the solution? Short term, the league will milk Clark's return storyline for all it's worth. Teasers, sideline appearances, practice clips, anything to spark interest. But long term, the answer is simple yet difficult. Fix officiating and protect stars. Without that, the WNBA remains dangerously dependent on one player's health. A sustainable league needs multiple stars, not one. It needs rivalries beyond Clark versus Reese. It needs marketing that goes deeper than one rookie's face. Until that happens, every Caitlin Clark injury will send the entire product into panic mode. And make no mistake, the networks, owners, and fans are already watching closely. The league has celebrated record growth all season. But the truth is clear, it's not league-wide growth. It's Caitlin Clark growth. Remove her, and the numbers deflate instantly. That's not sustainable, and it's not real momentum. It's dependency disguised as progress. Sports history proves this is a dangerous foundation. The 1990s Bulls didn't make basketball globally bigger, Michael Jordan did. The WNBA is repeating that pattern. But unlike Jordan's NBA, this league doesn't have a second superstar pipeline to carry the weight. That's why Clark's absence is more than a medical setback, it's an existential crisis. The question now is whether the league learns from this, or ignores the warning signs until it's too late. Looking ahead, the playoffs will be the ultimate test. If Clark returns and ratings rebound, the WNBA survives another year, though the dependency problem remains. But if she returns and ratings don't recover, the league faces a credibility crisis. Networks will question the narrative. Advertisers will hesitate. And fans will wonder if the WNBA can truly stand on its own. The league gambled everything on one rookie star. That gamble is being tested right now, and the results may shape the future of women's basketball for years to come. Here's the harsh reality. Caitlin Clark's groin injury has revealed the WNBA's greatest weakness. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of storylines. It's a lack of protection, planning, and balance. One player should not be carrying an entire league's ratings. And yet, that's where we are. Unless officiating changes, unless marketing broadens, and unless the WNBA stops depending on one rookie to carry its future, this so-called historic growth may vanish faster than it appeared. What do you think? Can the league survive without Caitlin Clark, or is this the beginning of a collapse? Drop your thoughts below, hit like, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage.